Natalie, you and I have visceral memories of Vanity Fair's 2003 It's Totally Raining Teens Young Hollywood cover.
Like, oh my gosh, that was a formative cover for my my youth.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Welcome to Ankler Agenda. It's Wednesday, January 21st, and I'm Elaine Lowe of the Series Business Newsletter, here with Sean McNulty of The Wake Up.
Greetings from the tundra.
And Natalie Jarvie, who writes our Creator Economy newsletter, Like and Subscribe.
Hello.
So in today's episode, we're asking, what does it take to build the next generation of Hollywood stars and creators? Every couple of years, somebody's touted as the next big thing, and then, as often happens, fizzles out. In this incredibly fragmented media environment, it's so much harder to break through the noise. The era of massive stars like George Clooney and Julia Roberts, or millennial icons like Anne Hathaway or Ryan Gosling, kind of seem to be over. So how do you discover the next big thing? I had a chat with the casting directors of Heated Rivalry, who told me how they found Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie. And Natalie has some great reporting on how Snap, remember Snapchat, is trying to mint new creators. At the end of the show, we'll also have the Ankler associate editor and resident gambler Matthew Frank back on to tell us how his prediction market bets are paying off. And in case you missed it, we've also got some great news stories on the Ankler.com, including one on pilot season being back, perhaps, and the real estate market in LA, as well as recent reporting from my own Series Business Newsletter on what Polymarket has in store next for Hollywood. All right. So first, before we get into the next gen of Hollywood, let's talk about the latest in the Warner Brothers acquisition saga. Sean, Netflix now has decided to pony up an all-cash bid for the studio. Walk us through what's happening.
Yeah, so they removed the stock elements, which wasn't a major part of the deal. So it was mostly all cash before, but they're essentially just eliminating things that Paramount has brought up as, potential arguments in the deal. So one of the things was, well, our offers are $30 all cash. Well, Netflix is now saying, well, our deal is all cash too. And then they also, or should I say Warner Brothers, WBD put, or at least a broad definition of how they're valuing the cable TV business, the Discovery Global business, which is the real, not sticking point, but certainly the point of argument in terms of what is this thing worth. And they kind of outlined how they, made that valuation internally, pretty broad, from about $1.33 a share to $6.60, something like that a share, in terms of how much this is worth. Again, the market will tell us when it becomes a publicly traded company. So those were the two things that were, again, the two things in the ether that they chose to clean up, if you will, Elaine. And this all cash element now can also kind of fast forward the vote for WBD stockholders, which will probably be in April, to make their call on the deal. I will note today, we're recording on the Wednesday, is the 5 p.m. Elaine. If you have some WBD shares out there, if you want to pledge your allegiance to the $30 a share offer from Peace Guy, that offer technically expires at 5 p.m. today. They could extend that. We'll see if that happens. So we'll see if Paramount comes back with more. And that's kind of where we're at. Although I will say there's an interesting part of this, Elaine, where as a part of that valuation of Discovery Global, WBD mapped out their projections for revenue for what they were thinking if the company stayed, intact, if you will.
Any surprises there?
I mean, yeah, to me, it's,
were they very optimistic projections?
You could also portray it that way, Elaine. I think that's one way you could put it. But, so ever since 2022, and I read it on every earnings call, the revenue's been going down. It's becoming a smaller company since 2022. They kind of projected that 26 will kind of be the bottoming out of that. And then because projections went to 2030, and they were projecting a pretty rosy future for this company in terms of they were going to say it's about $39 billion a year in revenue, Elaine. They're projecting it to go up to somewhere in the mid 40 billions in revenue within 5 years. Big growth in theatrical, notably big growth in streaming. So just interesting to see that they were projecting, at least as these are projections, Elaine. So a rosier future for a company that will not be. And there's also some revenue numbers for Discovery Global, which I put in the Wake Up today. You can check those out, which are just, I want to see how small that business was in terms of the WBD streaming line. It's pretty interesting. So some fun facts, Elaine.
All right, well, let's now get into our main topic, the next generation of Hollywood. I wonder, I've been thinking about this lately, who do you really consider the last major TV or movie star? Because like when I think about major movie stars, like I think about, you know, like your Brad Pitts and your Jennifer Anistons, but these are all like real, like solid Gen X or like
you skipped over millennials, Elaine. How dare you? Still not your generation.
Hey, I said
What's
Anne
going
Hathaway earlier, who, as Natalie has said last week, is going to have probably a pretty good year this year with the amount of stuff she has coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
But like who is like the last big star that you can think of, like who has really sort of transcended the space in the same way that these old school movie stars used to?
Well, I think Chalamet is doing it right now. So, you know, I mean, not to be the most obvious answer of the group, but this guy's had a big December movie for, I think, 4 years in a row now. So, you had Wonka, you've had, you know, that's the Dune movies, Complete Unknown last year, and Marty Supreme. Those two movies are, I mean, A Complete Unknown is a Dylan movie, okay, fine, but those past two movies are pretty much on his back. Marty Supreme, definitely so. Marty Supreme is outgrossing the Leo pick, one battle in the U.S., so that's already happened. So if you want to put a Leo versus, you know, Timmy comp on that. So it's hard not to, you know, to argue that he can't open a movie. He's done a wide variety of stuff. You know, Wonka is kind of broad, family-friendly musical, and Dune is sci-fi, and Marty Supreme's a 1950s ping pong movie. So Dylan's a, you know, classic rock biopic. So he's done it all. Natalie, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think Timothee is an obvious choice. I very much, when I think about him, I also think of someone like Zendaya, who, you know, she's been doing this for a while. She was, you know, a child actor, but, you know, certainly they're about the same age, and, you know, they star in Dune together. She's also got Euphoria, so she's on television as well. She's an interesting one. I feel like there's a bunch of people kind of right in that like 30 category, right around the age of 30, who all popped kind of within a few years of each other. Florence Pugh is another example. You know, that's kind of who I think about when I think of like who last really kind of transcended on TV or movie screens.
Yeah, you're right. There's a couple of them who are turning 30 exactly this year. Like this feels like sort of, I don't know, an inflection year for a lot of these folks.
Yeah, I mean, Timothee Chalamet posted on his own Instagram when he turned 30 that he's unk now. So, you know, they're all going through their quarter life crisis.
But even this winter, we've had, you know, Sydney Sweeney, who's, you know, again, she had The Housemaid, which is a huge global hit at $250 million. You know, someone else out there, and obviously Euphoria as well, Natalie. So, once again, HBO, kind of a hotbed of burgeoning talent there to a degree, just as it, you know, has been for many years there, Elaine.
And I think it's interesting that like HBO, which is, I mean, now I guess with HBO Max has a broader reach, but like it's kind of a niche service to be launching stars with.
But again, like Elaine, this goes back to like, I'll say maybe when you were growing up, the WB stars of old, and it's just like, this is what that was, which whether it be James Vanderbeek or, you know, the whole crew of people on those shows, you know, on Felicity or whatever it might have been. This is just now on streaming. Like it's not on linear TV anymore. But the equivalency is, will Madeline Klein, you know, become a star off of from Outer Banks? It's just a different era of it, but it's the same spirit, Elaine, I think.
Well, it seems so much harder now, though. You talk about that era from the early aughts, the CW shows. Natalie, you and I have visceral memories of Vanity Fair's 2003 It's Totally Raining Teens young Hollywood cover. Like,
oh my gosh, that was a formative cover for my my youth.
Right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Every major star of the moment was on that cover. It was such a big deal when that one came out.
Yeah, like Hilary Duff, Lindsay Lohan, Alexis Bledel, like Mandy Moore, like everybody was on that cover. Like I think, and so many people I know, if you bring up that cover today to a 30 or 40 something year old woman, like they will know exactly what you're talking about. Do we have anything that has really transcended that noise? Like that is like, we just don't have any monocultural moments like that anymore, I feel like.
We don't. I would say the closest thing we get are these kind of friend groups that you now see on social media, on TikTok or on Instagram. For my 2026 predictions article that I published at the beginning of the year, an agent that I talked to actually said that she thinks this will be the year of the friend group. Like, I was certainly tuned in for Charlie XCX's wedding this summer, and all the people from, you know, her world in music and film and television who came out to that wedding. There's also the friend groups around like Love Island and some of the reality shows. So that's kind of, I feel like, where you see kind of the same energy around what that Vanity Fair cover, kind of presented to the world. It's very different, right? Because at Vanity Fair, that was a curated cover, and there was something about a prestigious magazine minting those people as the next generation of stars. That's not happening on TikTok or Instagram, but there's no monoculture anymore. There is no, equivalent of that Vanity Fair cover. I mean, yes, Vanity Fair still exists, but those covers aren't making the same impact that they once did. So that's, I think, where it will be different, because everyone's social media feeds are different, right? What I'm seeing is different than what you're seeing. So when people think back on this time, they may all have a different memory of what was the kind of most important cultural moment of this time.
Agreed.
Well, Sean, is there anybody of any age who still reliably brings people to the movie theater?
And this is no is your answer. It really depends on the movie. It's, you can have Denzel doing an Equalizer movie. Great. You put him in Roman J. Esquire. It's like, no one wants to see that. Denzel is not a guaranteed across the board. Like, more often than not, yes. But you look at, Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence and Die My Love. It's like two of the biggest stars in the world of that, millennial generation. Like, nothing. Like, they don't want it. You're still hampered by, they want to see you in certain roles. So I think it's a combination of like the right role and the right talent, Elaine, for sure. But like, is there everybody like, I'm going to go see every, Brad Pitt movie or whatever? I'm like, I don't know that was ever true. Even when Brad was coming up in the 90s, there's a few movies that
really, you don't think so? Is this just revisionist history?
7 years in Tibet did not exactly light up the
that's like
the
an
box
exception.
Office.
That's like the norm.
That's what I'm saying. You're telling me is like, who's a reliable
I'm
box
not
office
asking you
star.
like who's going 10 for 10. I'm saying like who is like generally
Well, right.
reliable.
And those are the ones who also pick the movies that are going to do on the whole better, and then other ones just like do a couple of big ones and they do a lot of other, more indie stuff. So that's how Natalie, anybody guaranteed in your mind on this?
I mean, speaking of Vanity Fair covers, the cover of the Hollywood issue this last year with all of the internet's boyfriends,
oh, right.
These are supposed to be our next generation of male movie stars. And the only one on that cover who can reliably bring people to a box office is Michael B. Jordan with Sinners this last year. So, he would be my pick. He's a little over 30,
That's
but,
true.
he's been pretty successful at all of his major outings at the box office.
Well, and I imagine, too, if you look at this from the behind the scenes end, that it's got to be that much harder for talent agents, for managers to kind of push out their clients into the marketplace. I mean, with everybody subscribed to 4 different streaming services and not everybody is subscribed to the same 4 streaming services, and you have hundreds of shows out there, you got to really work harder to make any kind of splash.
Yeah, it's probably settling out maybe a bit. I mean, I don't know that. Again, I'm off top, but like, is Peacock really minted any star? As Natalie, as you said, like Netflix just has that audience, and like they can just overnight, like even something like a Sophia Carson or someone just like, oh my god, like she's one of her numbers are out. The new Netflix Datadome came out. Like looking, even Purple Hearts is still doing like 20 million views in half a year. Like that's an amazing feat for one of the top draws on Netflix after the older movies. So there is some of that, Natalie, out there, I think.
Yeah, I think it's about, the platform and can they really help to platform a star and
right.
bring a lot of attention to them. And I think there are some that can do that better than others. It does require, I think, a lot of the reps to, do their jobs well and continue to work harder to, help steer their clients in the right direction and help them try to find those projects that can break through.
Well, speaking of platform, you'd written a story recently, Natalie, about how Snap is looking to mint new creators. And that's such a space that historically has been kind of the Wild West where I feel like anyone could go viral. Like, how do you create momentum in that space?
Yeah, well, the reason I found this story interesting is because the same issues that Hollywood is having around, the kind of death of the monoculture and how that's impacting stardom is happening on social media too, because there are now so many different platforms and they're all tailored to your specific interests and what you want to watch. It's making it harder for a major creator to break out. I mean, Mr. Beast, it would be hard for anyone to replicate that now and to become as famous as he he has become. And I think probably the last creator who really broke out in a mainstream way is probably like an Alix Earle or a Kai Cenat. And they've both been doing this now for a few years. But they're, I would argue, household names at this point. Like most,
Alix has a Netflix show now.
I just saw that this morning. Yeah,
exactly. And was on Dancing with the Stars and, went quite far. So when I heard that Snapchat, which is a platform that has primarily worked best for people who already have an audience and bring their audience to the platform, when I heard that they were now trying to do more to help people actually build an audience on their platform first and become kind of homegrown stars, I thought that was really interesting. And they've been doing that in a number of different ways with some product tweaks and how they kind of, boost viewership and awareness of their talent. It's still early days. I don't know that, anyone has, completely broken out on Snapchat, but there have been some interesting examples of success, like Katie Feeney, who was on Snapchat and became quite popular there and now has a deal on ESPN and is on SportsCenter and is doing a lot of social media content for them. So it is starting to work and they are starting to build this really interesting pipeline. And it's worth other social media platforms like taking stock of what Snapchat has done there and thinking about how can they do more to really kind of help make sure that their creators are getting in front of the right audience.
Does it seem replicable for like other platforms?
I mean, in some ways, sure. A lot of platforms already have some of the elements that Snapchat has built into it. But a couple of things that they do that I think are really smart is that they're incredibly hands-on. So they will invite creators to their campus for Snap School, where they basically teach them best practices and walk them through the different product updates. I mean, because these platforms are always changing and you have to stay on top of all the product updates and the algorithm tweaks. And that can be really hard. And so actually bringing them to your campus and holding their hand through those changes and also giving them an opportunity to network with each other, it builds a lot of loyalty for your platform. And people who are loyal to Snapchat are really loyal to Snapchat. And I don't know any other social media platform that is quite that hands-on with their talent. I mean, they all have, partner managers and people who will talk to talent regularly, but kind of that level of one-on-one engagement is really unique.
Interesting.
We have to get Richard to go to Snap School, Elaine. I think that would be
I would pay to see that.
I think we all would. That'd be exactly.
It would be great. I mean, they also do a thing for up and coming creators. It's Creator Week where they, bring them in and teach them how to like make their profiles and help them connect with brands and with agents. I mean, honestly, it's perfect for Richard. I think we should definitely get him in there.
Sold.
And, when we're talking about things that really break through the noise, one show that did it this past couple of months is Heated Rivalry, which is interesting considering it's like a lower budget Canadian show made for a Canadian streamer, Crave. But then it was picked up in the 11th hour by HBO Max and it suddenly got like 50 plus million more possible viewers right out of the gate. So when I talked to the Heated Rivalry casting directors, Jenny Lewis and Sarah Kay, earlier this week, they gave me the play-by-play of their what turned out to be a 6-week search, which was apparently pretty quick in casting world, for their Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov, the two characters at the center of the Rachel Reed book that this was adapted for TV. And this is just an incredible story of lightning in a bottle, right? These two 20-something actors, Connor Storrie, Hudson Williams, which became truly overnight sensations. And they said that they, in their years, have never really seen anything like this.
Connor was just, I was like, oh, that's him. I think we just knew. He just sort of had the it of the character. And so I knew when I showed that one to Jacob and Brendan, you can't be done. You have to chemistry read and make sure the mix works. But I was like, that's the guy. Like, I just knew that was the guy. With Hudson, I think because it was Canadian, we were really focusing on trying to have a lot of Canadian options for that part. It wasn't, we were really trying to consider everybody. So it just felt different to me, but he just spoke emotionally. Like there was just something in his tape where I felt that there were hidden depths. Like there was something he just made me feel.
So hearing Jenny Lewis talk about this, it's just really hard to find this kind of lightning in a bottle these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a number of factors that worked well for Heated Rivalry that led to kind of the incredible, boost in fame for these actors. For starters, this was a really popular book. We know romance books are very popular on Book Talk and with young female audiences. So there was already a certain amount of interest heading into this property. And then HBO picking it up and amplifying it further than, what would have happened if it had just remained on Crave, I think really kind of then allowed it to take off in this interesting way. And then you've got these actors who are really great. They're just very charismatic. They're clearly stars, and people are excited to see what they can do next.
You know, what's interesting is their chemistry read was done entirely on Zoom. I asked them about this and they didn't see anybody in person. Like, they just got in a ton of self-tapes from all over the world. And I said, well, did you have them in the room for this chemistry read? And they're like, no, like since the pandemic, we do a lot of these chemistry reads by Zoom now. And they just had it. And I was like, well, how do you assess like sexual chemistry in a Zoom room? And they were like, sometimes you can just feel it, like, and then you like hope it like works out when you're actually on set. And they did a set visit after, and they said it was just like the kind of set where even people who weren't on the clock that day were coming in to watch scenes being filmed, which they said, because I was like, did you see that this was going to be such an overnight hit? And they were like, well, truthfully, like, no, but, this was a set where people were coming in and were super interested in it. And when you have like a healthy set where people are invested in it, I think, maybe that's a sign.
That's so interesting. I mean, I can't help but now kind of wonder, like, what's next for these two actors. I mean, they were in LA for the Golden Globes and they were mobbed. People were obsessed with them. Every party they went to, every celebrity wanted to take photos with them. They were like the belles of the ball. And, there's a lot of opportunities coming their way. They're doing a lot of interviews. They're walking, at Fashion Week. And, it will be very interesting to see how they, transition their careers and where they go. And they've signed with talent agents now. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of can their reps really help them navigate this sudden burst of fame and find the right path. So this isn't just a, flash in the pan and something that they can build into a sustainable career.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I'm curious about each of your predictions for the top star, top performer who's 30 or younger that's going to have a big year this year. But before we get into that, I should mention that I'm going to have a much longer version of this interview with the casting directors from Heated Rivalry in the Monday edition of the series business newsletter. So definitely watch for that. We get into the behind the scenes of how they found Hudson Williams and Connor Storrie and, just how tough that search was. All right. So we've talked a lot about Timothee Chalamet and like the Zendayas and Tom Hollands of the world and Sydney Sweeney. So maybe let's not include them in this mix. But I wonder who you all think is going to have a big year this year. I know if you'd asked me this like 10 years ago, I would have told you Megan Faye, who was in The Bold Type at the time, I think. And like, I remember watching that show. Natalie, you were a big Bold Type fan as well.
I love The Bold Type.
Like, I remember watching that show and being like, oh my God, she's huge. She's going to be a star. And what's funny is later I talked to a friend who used to be a writer on Law and Order SVU who had cast Megan Faye on, some episode from a long time ago when she was a lot younger. And she was like, oh yeah, even then, like in the room, like there was just like this star power to her, which I think is like such an interesting like Q factor, like this unnavigable, like this totally subjective factor when we think about who's going to be a big star. But who do you all think has that quality, has that potential with what they've got lined up on the slate this year?
I mean, I'm going with a couple of, we would call them TV stars.
Wait, a couple. No. This isn't going to be like the end of the year thing. You get one.
Oh, jeez. Marisa Abela. Next.
You got to tell us more. Why?
She's an industry. I think industry will probably keep doing more for a lot of people. She was already played Amy Winehouse, and she's already had a few moments in it. But this show is taking her above and beyond. I'm going to go Michelle Randolph on Landman. Also just got cast in a Amazon rom-com. I think she has some heat going on. Madeline Klein, also from Outer Banks, just got cast in the new Judd Apatow, Glenn Powell movie. So you see some, those are the three that are out there. And a good old Sophia Carson, I think, is sky's the limit there. She's just, I mean, her numbers on Netflix are crazy. So if she ever wants to try and get out of the Netflix bubble there, I think she has a real opportunity.
But out of those, if you had to pick one, it would be, you think Marisa's at the top?
I'd just say that shows, if we're talking about 2026, Elaine, I think that would be, and that's one of my favorite shows. I'm a little biased, certainly, but I think she's got a lot of talent. I think she has a lot of charisma. You know, just, again, that it factor, whatever you want to call it, Elaine. I think she has that presence. So she's someone I would, if I'm going to bet on one, that's probably the one I would bet on.
But Industry is apparently a show that I should be watching.
It's so good, Elaine.
I think you'd like it, Elaine. Yeah.
And she's amazing. I mean, they're all amazing on it.
It sounds like it's up my alley.
Does she have anything else lined up?
She's in Highlander, the new reboot of that with Henry Cavill, I believe. So that's her next big thing.
Oh, okay.
All right. What about you, Natalie?
All right. I'm going with Maya Hawke. She may be the child of two very famous actors and already have, you know, a certain amount of name recognition. But I think kind of coming off of Stranger Things, that this could be a big year for her. She is going to be in Hunger Games: Sunrise of the Reaping. So that will be kind of a big franchise play for her. She's also in a film called One Night Only with Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner, and another film called Wishful Thinking with Lewis Pullman and Randall Park. So she's got some stuff coming that, you know, interesting co-stars, interesting mix of projects. I think it could be a good year for her.
I saw some interview with Ethan Hawke where he was like, we were walking down the street and somebody came up to me and wanted like their autograph or something, but they were really going for Maya.
Bro.
Yeah, they were like, who are you? Like, that's how you know the torch has officially been passed on.
Yes.
As for my pick, I think if we were going to be super obvious and the category doesn't include Chalamet, Zendaya, and Sweeney.
Please, Elaine, be super obvious for us. There we go.
I think Jacob Elordi would have been the natural choice, right?
Yeah, all right.
But he's already in that star status. And, you know, he's got Wuthering Heights coming up.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment, though, to talk about Jacob Elordi, because I was thinking about him, too. Wuthering Heights is going to be big. You know, whether people love it or not, you know, people are going to be talking about it. He also is just coming off of Frankenstein. Yeah. And he's got a Ridley Scott movie, Dog Stars, later this summer as well, which feels like a kind of a new type of project for him. So, you know, if ever there was a year that Jacob Elordi could break out even further and mint his place in, you know, the ranks with all the others, you know, around his age group, this could be the year.
Is he back in Euphoria or is he not?
Yes, he is back in Euphoria as well. So that'll
also be, that's a
Wuthering Heights, Euphoria, Dog Stars, which is why I thought it was almost too obvious to pick him, right? Like,
I guess that's going here to here potentially. Like, okay, granted,
If you're going to go from an 8 to a 10, like, is that really that hard to project?
Yeah, that's true.
But if I had to pick somebody else, it would be Elle Fanning. She's somebody who's been around for a while. Everybody knows her name, but she's got a big year coming up. She's also going to be in the new Hunger Games movie. And then she's also got Apple TV Plus's Margot's Got Money Troubles, which is going to come out in April. It's a David E. Kelly show based on a book. And I'm probably also just influenced by recency bias, but she had this incredible photo shoot with Who What Wear, and it's on Instagram. I feel, Natalie, you must have seen this. It was incredible. And I just feel like she's got this like fashion icon like sense to her where it's hitting on different levels, where like that's what you really need for star status. It's not just the projects you're in, but like all the other halo effect that you can cultivate around it. I feel like she's just like a really great, sartorially influential person in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, she's got that it factor. You know, she's been on my radar for a while. I mean, another, you know, someone who started acting very young, but it does feel like she's still poised to kind of become even more significant, you know, in this business, and even, you know, more, you know, kind of part of the fabric of the Hollywood A-list.
And she was so good on The Great, which is a show that left us too soon.
And Sentimental Value, she's fantastic in that recently, and she just had Predator Badlands as well. So she has two big movies, November, December. So coming off a pretty good 2025 there, Elaine, and you mentioned all the 2026 stuff. So yeah, she could be poised there to really take it up a notch as well. So
can I throw out someone that I don't think I would bank on for the year, but I think that maybe we'll all be talking a lot more about
an honorable mention?
An honorable mention, exactly. So another, son of a famous actor.
You going with the Nepo babies, Natalie? What are you doing?
I guess I'm going with the Nepo babies.
It's gonna be a good year for Nepo babies. Yeah.
Homer Gere.
Who?
Oh my.
He's the son of Richard Gere and Carrie Lowell, and he is going to be in Euphoria and also in The Shards, which is the adaptation of the Bret Easton Ellis book. Kaya Gerber also stars in that one. They've been posting some Instagram photos with each other in it and generating some buzz around whether there's also a romantic entanglement.
Playing that old chestnut.
So, he's already kind of on my radar in a way. He wasn't before, and I think by the end of this year we'll know a lot more about Homer Gere.
I feel like you should get some sort of prize if he becomes the big breakout, because I think otherwise all of our bets have been relatively safe. But like if Homer Gere becomes the next big thing,
it's the year of Homer Gere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's rhyming
Natalie,
at least. So
the tip of the hat goes to Natalie. That's for sure. So
right.
Well done.
Okay, we got to get that on a prediction market bet.
Yeah, what's the Homer Gere action going on? Yes, exactly, Elaine.
Speaking of which, we have Matthew Frank joining us now for a quick update on his bets for the week. We had Netflix earnings last night. Since we're recording here on Wednesday, we have Oscar nominations coming up Thursday morning. Matthew, what bets did you make last week?
Yeah, so this week was Netflix earnings call, which last week after we finished recording, Sean and Elaine, you both advised me to take Paramount, them to say Paramount, or not to say Paramount because they wouldn't refer to it. Well,
how'd that go?
It was one of the worst beats in the history of earnings call gambling. I'm gonna declare it right now because they referred to it not in the merger.
It was a curveball.
No, it was a curveball. They referred to it because they were licensing titles from Paramount. So
unforeseen, Elaine.
Bad beat, really bad beat.
Out of our control, Elaine.
Take no responsibility for this.
No responsibility on that one. Nope.
How much did you lose on that?
156.
Yeah.
Not great. That was.
I'm sure you'll make it back somewhere, Matthew.
Well, so we're still roughly even from where we were last week, thanks to my heroic talk show gambling.
Oh, heroic now.
Which talk show and who?
Fallon and Kimmel, both of which every day you can get one of their guests on what they're going to say during their interview. And it's great. And I spend a lot of time researching it and watching old interviews that these people give, that Will Smith gives for yesterday for his Poll to Poll show, and that Johnny Knoxville gave for Fear Factor. So we're up on that. We're up on that. So that was good.
So all you got to do is get into the live studio audience tapings. You got to get into the tapings of these and then place your bet, because that's theoretically something you could do, right?
It absolutely is. And one of these weeks, I think I'll go down to Hollywood Boulevard and just bribe one of the people that are going to
He's going to sneak into the El Capitan, go watch Kimmel, make a bet after.
Yeah. Guys are up $10,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
I'm getting worried about you, Matthew. I just got to say, don't start putting yourself in any precarious positions on Hollywood Boulevard just to make a quick buck.
Go bet on Homer Gere.
No promises.
Right, that's it. Much better.
But that's part of it, right? Like, if you're going to place a bet on a late night talk show, that's something that's recorded. You could easily be somebody who works on that show and make a bet every night that's on the market. And that wouldn't be illegal, right, Sean?
Well, it's not. No, well, Matthew, it's not SEC illegal. The platforms may ban you, right, Matthew? That's how I would probably
if they caught on.
If I did actually put like $10,000 on what Martin Short's going to say tonight on Kimmel, I think they would catch on to it. But maybe you get away with it once. Again, they're dealing with a lot of money on these platforms. If 10,000 is a lot, but I don't know if they're closely tracking. They're looking at the Maduro markets. I don't know how closely they're tracking the Martin Short Kimmel odds. So
what's your total right now, Matthew?
Right now, so it's about even from where we were last week. I mean, most of the money is tied up in bets, so I don't want to
not too liquid right now.
Yeah, but the portfolio, as it were, is even from where it was last week. If we had hit that Paramount bet, if we didn't have that terrible beat on that earnings call, we'd be in very good shape.
Well, we will keep track of this. Glad you have a healthy looking portfolio, even if you have no extra money in the pot right now.
And we have earnings calls, plenty coming after the Oscar noms. We have plenty of earnings calls coming up after that, Matthew, so we can redeem ourselves.
Disney one should be a good one.
On Disney or something. Yeah, exactly.
We're going to make it all back. We're going to go sew up. We're going to go to Hollywood Boulevard and gets super liquid.
All right, man.
Okay, anybody working security at Kimmel today, watch out for Matthew.
Yeah, be
Watch
careful.
out,
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Matthew. And thanks to Natalie Jarvie and Sean McNulty for joining us. Really appreciate all of you watching. If you're liking what you're seeing, make sure you leave us a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts from. And make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube now, where we have a full video version of this podcast. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.